Was there anybody in your family that had Parkinson's?
No, no one in the family. At one time, this is a funny story. When I was a little kid, I remembered my grandfather, my dad's father, being really shaky in the morning, and my grandmother would bring him his coffee, and he always spilled his coffee all over the place. And we just thought that's how Grandpa Jim was. And so when I had that shaking stuff going on 7 years ago, I said, well, I think our grandfather had Parkinson's. Well, my grandfather was an alcoholic. Okay. So I knew that too, but it didn't occur to me that this was alcohol related. So this last summer, I reached out to my uncle and asked him, did Grandpa Jim have Parkinson's? And he started laughing. He said, no, I think Grandpa Jim had a bad case of Kessler's. He said, I don't think it was Parkinson's. I think it was Kessler's.
I was thinking that must be hard then, right? Because like how much can somebody who likes to prepare if you don't have knowledge or experience with somebody close to you, like having that? And like, have you known anybody with it before, or any sort of resource or group that could help you prepare?
No, I don't know anybody. What I found out though was one of my very dear friends, one of my best friends, Sherry, when I was talking to her about it, she told me her dad had it. And so I was asking a lot of questions of her, and she was, giving me a lot of information. And since then, in this great neighborhood that I live in, I find out also there's a support group for Parkinson's patient in my neighborhood. And they meet once a month in our clubhouse. So I went to the meeting in September and happened to go to the wrong meeting because they have a special meeting for the caregivers and then another one for the patients. So I ended up at the caregivers meeting, and those people at that meeting were fabulous, so knowledgeable, and so compassionate and kind and loving, and whatever you need, just call us, ask us. We'll help with anything. And they told me about some other resources and another support group that met in the town that I live in. So I went to that, and then I went to the October meeting with the actual patients. There were about 5 people there. Again, the kindest, most loving, generous, compassionate people you ever want to meet. For that 1 hour sitting with them, I was not afraid.
That's good.
There's resources around me. There's also about 3 miles from my house, maybe 3.5 miles. There's a gym. It's called the therapy gym. And the lady there has a specific exercise program for Parkinson's patients.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And I don't know, there's a boxing program called, I'm not going to remember it, Rock Steady. And it's for Parkinson's patient. It's boxing. And they have that program there. And, that's not available just everywhere. Rock Steady, Rock Steady boxing. And so, I have this list of things I'm going to do. Anybody get in that trap?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to do that. That's on my gonna list.
Yeah.
I was going to call her a month ago. So yeah, that's on my list of things to do. And I'm hoping that I'm just still feeling sorry for myself. I don't know.
Have you seen a therapist for anybody?
Well,
Not to pry.
No, this it's fine. I had a therapist that I had for years, and she retired on me. You know, when you get to be our age,
Yeah.
your doctors start retiring, and it's not right. Because then I went to see a gastroenterologist today, and he looked like Doogie Howser.
I love Neil Patrick Harris. Shout out Neil Patrick
I'm
Harris.
telling you, Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah, this guy, nicest, he was a kid. He's a kid.
He was 12.
But yeah, I had a therapist. She retired, and so I went to my company's employee assistance program, and they had a agreement with BetterHelp.
I love BetterHelp.
So I was able to get 3 sessions with a BetterHelp counselor, and that was fine. But as well as I do, if you're doing therapy, you're not going to connect and really get down to what you need to get down to with a therapist in 3 sessions. It's just not going to happen. I did make some progress in some other areas that were not even related, which was good, but that's where it stopped. And that's on my gonna list too, just in case just so you know, it's on the gonna list. I have a list.
You have a list? I have a list too. Like I'm gonna clean my office, and I'm gonna clean my room.
I have to trick my brain. So if we all have a list. We all have things that we're gonna do. If it's something that needs to happen, right? Like I'm procrastinating on it, I just have to jump into it. Like I almost have to like trick myself. Like this is an extreme example, but like to do dishes, I'll go in the kitchen and trick myself. Like I'm just gonna go get a snack, and then I like shift gears really quick and then just jump into the dishes. Like I can't think about it. I just have to like throw myself into it because I'll keep putting it off. But I have a friend who writes her to-do list onto little scraps of paper. She throws it into a mason jar. Every weekend she shakes it up, pulls it out, and she commits. Like, this is the day I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, bless your heart. Like, I don't, that don't work for me.
So she only does one thing.
She sure does. But you know what? She checks it off her list.
But I'll tell you, yes, you know what? I feel like it's very productive if I can scratch something off the list, for sure. So no, I have not been able to follow up and get more therapy, but I definitely know I do need it. And I mean, this year, you just take the Parkinson's away. My mother was in a nursing home. I had to go through the process of cleaning her house out and selling her house. And I get a call from the realtor. We put the house on the market the middle of December. I said, it's not going to sell in the dead of winter in northern Michigan. So we got some time. Go ahead and list it. The house sold in 3 days.
Wow.
Holy
So
crap.
Good realtor.
My mother had a house that she'd been living in for 40 years, and she never threw a thing away. House is 4,000, 5,000 square feet. Every inch, nook, and cranny in that house had something in it. So I get a call, and the closing is January 23rd. So I had to put my little dog in the car, drive up to northern Michigan in the middle of a snowstorm. And I went through that mess, 3 weeks of hell trying to get rid of everything and having everything work out. There was a snowstorm the day I was supposed to leave, and I said, I don't care. I got to get the hell out of Dodge. I got to get out of here. So I got that all taken care of. And then I had to go through the wrath of my mother telling me I had no right to sell her house and she's going to sue me. And I said, okay, here, call your attorney, sue me. You had no right. Like, yeah, I did. But, I wasn't going to argue with her. Yeah, sue me. And she, raise hell, raise hell. Every time I talk to her on the phone, she's screaming and yelling at me. How could any daughter do that to her mother after all I've done for you? And, but things got better because guess what? My mom found a boyfriend in the nursing home.
Well, there you go.
And I'm thanking God every day for Stu.
We love you, Stu. Shout out to Stu.
Shout out to Stu. Love you, Stu. Yeah, so at least she laid off me for a while. Every now and then she'll bring it up, but she's not quite as hostile as she was. So I went through that. Then my son in June, I have a 34-year-old son who lives in Memphis, not married, just kind of still trying to figure out what he wants to do in life and addicted. So my whole life I spent working out where he is, what he's doing, when am I going to get the call, blah, 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 blah. And I get the call June, and he's had a terrible car accident. And I heard so many stories before I got there, you know. Everybody, it was just chaos. And by the time I got there, it turned out it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But he was in the hospital for a good 6 days. He had a fractured pelvis, and wasn't bad enough for surgery. They said he could probably heal on its own, but he would not be able to walk anyway for 6 weeks with a walker. So that was my son's bottom. Hopefully that's the last one, because I'm happy to say that he went into treatment in July, and he just got 123 days just this past week. 123 days clean and sober.
That's awesome.
He's in Fort Lauderdale, too far away from me, but he is thriving. He is thriving. He spent the 2 months in the treatment. He's in a assisted living. he's in a sober living house now, and with several other recovering people. He got a job at a boatyard, marine shop. So he's working on big boats. People to get their boats worked on, and he's doing that. He loves it. He's learning how to speak Spanish because he thinks he needs to have it in South Florida. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Because you do.
Yeah. And then he wants him to meet him, a cute little Latina girl.
Nice.
To get married. And I said, well, that'll be a good
place
thing for you to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's thriving. I could not be happier. It's a miracle every day. I still can't believe it. I've been, he's been struggling since he was in high school, and a constant thing. And he said he was done. He said he was done. And God, I'm praying every day that he really is done. And the more I talk to him, the more I believe it. So,
yeah.
So yeah, I've had things to deal with. I'm in that sandwich generation, right? You got your kids over here, you got your parents over here. And then God has to drop the Parkinson's bomb on me too in the middle of all that shit.
Yeah. I wonder if that, because you said stress makes the symptoms worse.
Yeah.
I wonder if that all just happened at the right time.
I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, I mean, I was a little shaky, but I mean, it got bad there for a while before I got on the medicine. So yeah.
And is the medicine helping a little bit?
It is helping. And I got to tell you another funny story about me because I'm so stubborn. God, I'm stubborn. So week before last, I decided, I don't think this medicine is doing anything for me.
It's that denial coming back.
So, I mean, this is craziness. And, I'm sure I'm not the only one that does this kind of stuff.
You're not.
So I'm hoping that people are going to listen to this and relate because the stupid, crazy shit we do. So I'm Dr. Bridget, right? And I'm like, I'm going to just see. I'm going to stop taking the medicine and see if there's a difference. Because I really can't tell if there's a difference. That maybe I don't need it. So I stopped taking the medicine on a Thursday, and then I went out with my friend Sherry on the weekend, and I've decided to tell her Because, when we're doing crazy shit like that, we don't typically want to tell anybody because we know we shouldn't be doing it, right?
It's usually the first red flag.
If I don't want to tell someone, there's a reason, right? So I told her, and then she's on her phone. She's grabbed her phone and she's Googling this medicine. What are the withdrawal symptoms of this medicine? And she's reading all this stuff and she's going, you need to start taking I'm like, well, I just thought I would give it a try. And I did notice my symptoms getting worse, but I didn't want to admit that. So yeah. So that's another crazy trick I tried. I was only off 3 days though. So.
Wow, that's a long time, actually. 3 days.
3 days.
I thought you were going to say like 5 hours later, I took it again or something. 3 days.
Oh, no, that's not Bridget. No, she can go big and go big.
I would have gone
home.
longer. I would have gone longer if I hadn't had dinner with her that night.
What's her name? Should we give her a shout out?
Shout out Sherry.
Shout out Sherry.
Yeah. I can't be unsupervised sometimes. I just can't.
I think that's all of us.
That is every single one of us.
Yeah.
Look at me. I went to Fort Lauderdale for my retirement party. Came home. I had a big old gash on my forehead, big old gash in my knee.
Didn't wear the helmet.
Unsupervised. Okay. I broke my nose in New York City in a hotel room because I was so drunk. I slipped and fell into the windowsill. Now, if that had been like anybody else who wasn't gnome sized, they wouldn't have broken their nose. I, on the other hand, fell right in. My nose is still broken. I'm never going to get it fixed because that would require surgery. So, we all do it, right? We all look on Google. Listen, I can breathe. I can blow my nose. It doesn't hurt anymore. I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that we all go through our own medical stuff in our own ways, right? Like for some of the stuff with me, I'm never going to accept it, right? I'll go through all 5 stages, but I'll never hit the acceptance part. And I think it's just human nature, right? Because as we get older, I don't want to deal with getting hurt or anything. Because as we get older, it takes a lot longer for shit to heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, we have plans, right? And I don't want anything to fuck up my plans. So, I think that you're doing some of the right stuff right now. I really think you should go to that gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and as you're doing your to-do list, not telling you how to live your life, but maybe put that at the very top of the to-do list. Right next to, I need to feed myself. And then I need to call the gym. But, you can call me back on Monday when you come back to the office and be like, yeah, I didn't do any of that shit you told me to do. So, I'm good with that.
Okay, so tomorrow's and my other day off. It's still Friday, so I can get a hold of people during the week. I'm going to call the gym. I wrote it down. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call the Center of Excellence because there's a lady there that told me to call her. She'd help me with some stuff.
Okay, so can you text me tomorrow and just let me know how you're doing with that?
Hold her accountable, Jurex.
I am the accountability police. And actually, when I need to be held accountable for something, I reach out to Dirty Skittles. I reach out to Lisa the lesbian, my wife. Listen, man, I am the fucking worst procrastinator in the entire world. The worst.
Mm-hmm.
I have been my entire life. But if I need to be held accountable and do shit, reach out to your friends, man.
Yeah.
And you have a community there. Your lady friends.
I do. I am so blessed. I hate to think where I would be right now if I were still living on the house on the hill.
Yeah.
In isolation, total isolation.
Yeah, I'd be your neighbor that wouldn't shut the fuck up. I'd just come over every day and be like, "Hey, Bridget, what you doing?"
Yeah. So I do have experience with acceptance, But it's very, and as I look back, it's very similar to what I'm doing, the stuff I'm doing right now. Like, I'm 10 years sober from alcohol.
Congrats.
And I got sober in 1995 the first time, and never really accepted that I had a problem with alcohol. You know, especially hearing the stories, and you go into AA and you hear, oh, I went to jail, I lost my kids, I lost a job, I totaled my car, blah, 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 blah. Ain't none of that stuff happened to me yet. I'm still up here, you know. Too bad for you down there, but I'm still up here. So 12 years of that. And I decided one day that I'm going to drink again. So I did. And I guess I had some proving to do to myself. So for 6 years, I drank and then decided to come back. In 2013, I came back, got sober again. And, you know, when I was sober the first 12 years, it was denial, anger, bargaining. I went through all those steps, but I never got the fifth one, right? Never got to acceptance. This is why I drank again. Today, I know without a doubt that I'm an alcoholic, and if I pick up a drink, I'm off to the races again, and it's not going to be pretty. And especially now, I certainly don't need that on top of anything else. So I can look at that and say, I got this acceptance on that.
Yeah.
So I can get to acceptance on this too.
I think you can.
It was, I was really angry that I was alcoholic. I was mad as hell. Why can't I have a drink?
Yeah.
You know, she can have a drink. He can have a drink. They can have drinks. I can't have a drink. Why? That's not fair. And and now it's so plain to me. Yes, they can have a drink. Bridget, don't drink one drink. You know, if I can't have all I want, I don't want any.
Yeah.
You know, I got there. I'm so grateful I got there. Hate to think where I'd be right now if I hadn't, but that I have to remember that. And I tell you what got me there is the 12 steps. And there's no reason why I can't use the 12 steps on this particular one too. Because I am totally powerless.
You are.
Yeah.
I am totally powerless.
Yeah.
And it's making me insane.
But you also hold some cards in your hands, right? Mm-hmm. So you have some things.
I have the tools. Yes.
You have tools.
I have to pick them up.
Yeah.
Right. You have to pick them up. And you have to hold yourself accountable. But if you can't hold yourself accountable, have your friends help you, because that's what friends are for. And like, if you have really good friends, they will hold you accountable.
They will.
Like,
yes.
Like if you have a shitty friend, they probably will not help you be accountable, and they will let you, you know, go out and do other things that you probably shouldn't be doing. But I know the other thing you do to help you is you do your art, and your art is beautiful. And I think that also helps you clear your mind, because you're a creative person, a lot like Dirty Skittles is. If you're using your brain to kind of get out of your own head. So like with us, you know, it's shit that goes on in our heads. Okay, we all have a lot of shit going on in there. But if I'm sitting and focusing on something I really enjoy doing, like the podcast, or believe it or not, I like to crochet. If I sit and just focus on that, then all the other shit stops just for that little bit of time. And the same thing that happens when I go to the gym, and I need to go back to the gym, and I am holding myself accountable to that because I felt better. But like that time that I spent at the gym, that is 1 hour that I'm either focusing on not falling off the fucking treadmill or dropping a weight on my foot.
Yeah.
So I think just by doing your art, that gives you that outlet to do something that's going to make everything else stop for that moment, because you have to focus while you're doing your art.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way for me to get out of my head is to do something creative like that. I know that. However, I've come to the conclusion, you know, I have done this art. I have always done some form of fashion of some kind of creative stuff my whole life. I started to crochet when I was 10 years old. So I get that. yeah. I can't do it as much. I can't do it like I used to because of it. It hurts. And I think that's arthritis too. But, and so I've always done art and people look at it and say, oh, you should sell that. You should sell that, you know? So then I get on this, I'm selling my art thing. And I did an art show this past weekend and it about killed me. You haul all the stuff in there, you set it all up, you sit there for 4 hours. People might buy some, but they, you know, it's not as successful as you wish it could have been. And then you got to haul all the shit back out, put it back in your car. And, you know, I'm ashamed to say it's still in my car from Saturday. I couldn't walk Sunday morning.
Wow.
And I said, this is insanity. I'm not making this art to please anybody but me.
Yeah.
And this is not why I do it. So
you do it for yourself.
I'm trying to focus on the why. Why do I do this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get rich doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
So I had a switch. I had a mind switch on Sunday about why am I doing this? I certainly don't want to be schlepping stuff for shows all the time. And then, you know, you got to spend money to have the space. And then if you don't sell enough to even pay for your space, then what? You know, it's a lot of work.
Maybe you need a pull boy.
I do.
You just need a little pull boy. Yeah, to schlep the shit from the house to the car, from the car into the space, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Are you laughing at me, Dirty Skittles?
I am.
You're laughing.
I am.
Because I'm a little
That's
wrong
the
in the
takeaway.
head.
That was the takeaway for G-Rex. Just get a boy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That problem with that though, then I'd have to pay him, and then what?
Well, I mean, you could look pitiful. Maybe they'll just do it out of the kindness of their heart, but you don't look pitiful, so that ain't gonna happen. I mean, I would do if I was there. I'd do it for you, but I'm not coming down there. I've already been to the South. I'm not going back down.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So I think you should just keep doing stuff for yourself, and you know, look for the good things you still have in your life, right? And
I have so much to be grateful for. Gratitude is another thing. I used to practice gratitude every day by writing down 3 things that I was grateful for and sending it to my AA sponsor. I quit doing that. I need to do that again. Maybe I can do that with you, Dirty Skittles.
Yeah.
Or not dear. Yeah, you too. You and G-Rex.
I'm here.
Send them that.
here.
Send you that list of 3 things. Just 3 every day. 3 things.
And, you know,
I can come up with 3 things a day.
That's helpful for all of us, right? Is like 3 things that we're grateful for every day, right?
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's just like they say if you do something for 30 days, it becomes a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's start day 1 and see what happens. If we can make 30 days, then it becomes a habit, right? And being grateful for what we have at that very moment, that can help us kind of, you know, reflect on some of the other shit that we're not really grateful for, but we have to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, you forget. So if I'm not in the habit of doing this every day, I forget to be grateful. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on the shit, right? I'm not focusing on what's good. And tonight I'm really feeling grateful for the things that I can do, the friends that I do have, the somewhat security that I have, and that I can really retire officially in February.
And like, I'm grateful for you, right? That you wanted to come and share your story, because I think that your journey will help our listeners, you know, understand that, yeah, we may have some really shitty shit going on in our lives, but, you know, count on your community, count on your friends, count on your family. And if you can't count on those, there's, you know, support groups out there. There's other people that can help you get through the shittiest day in your life. And I'm thankful for your voice, right? Because you're voicing concerns that, you know, people our age, Jerry Skills, you're way younger than both of us are. But there will come a time when you will like feel like we do, that at our age, community is everything.
Yeah.
We're getting to an age where things get a little bit more scarier when shit goes wrong.
Uh-huh.
Because, you look at your own mortality, you look at, you see people around you dying or getting really sick, and it makes you really think hard about, am I living for that moment? Or am I still focusing on what's in the future? And so for me, I've chosen to live for the moment.
Yeah.
And if Liz taught us anything, that's what she did too. She lived for the moment. And
right.
I go back and I reflect on that episode a lot. I listened to her episode today because I needed a good reminder of what do we do for ourselves every day that are going to make us happy, even when we're having a crappy day.
Yeah, and it could be just writing those three things down, right?
Yeah,
writing
simple.
Those three down.
As simple as writing those three things down. I used to journal a lot. I don't do that anymore. I feel like when you asked me to do this podcast, I'm thinking, I don't have anything positive to say right now. I'm kind of in a shitty place. I don't have anything to say like, oh yeah, I got this Parkinson's thing and I'm doing this, this, and this, and I'm in acceptance, and I'll, ask me again in 3 years to do it again. But right now,
I was actually thinking that I don't think so. This is life, right?
Yeah.
This is your life, and life isn't always going to be happy. So even though I can't personally relate right to your diagnosis, just hearing your story and you sharing that where you currently are and what you're battling with, I can relate to that. And I know other people will be able to too. Yeah. Our diagnoses are just different. So I think this is actually really important for everybody to understand that it's not always going to be a happy, funny story. And being vulnerable and opening up and sharing your experience so that somebody else can hear it and know that they're not alone is what it's about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like in a year, I want to hear back. I want to see where you're at.
Yeah.
See if you've gotten to that acceptance. And if you haven't, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe starting some new habits. We're going to do this gratitude thing. In the morning, you're going to get three things I'm grateful for.
Yeah. Let's commit. 30-day gratitude challenge.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I could do that.
Well, thank you, Bridget. I appreciate your story. I appreciate you being vulnerable and opening up with us. So thank you.
Thank you too. I really appreciate
welcome.
You.
Thank you guys. You really got me to thinking about everything and how I do need to focus more on my self-care, because that's going to help me to get to acceptance.
It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.